Hey, I'm back. Now, let's talk about the second indicator that you are made for business and entrepreneurship. On the last video, the card was full and it stopped recording, so the last video was just cut off. But I'm going to talk today again about the second indicator, in my opinion, the second most important indicator that you are made for business. And that is, if you can't stand or if you can't really be productive in the corporate life, if you can't stand office politics, if it repels you like crazy, you can't stand it, you do not work well in that environment, because you're just not a fake person that wants to put others down, that wants to rat on people, that wants to brown nose your boss. I mean, it's just your dignity. Your dignity is important to you. You don't care to lose your dignity for some dollars, So that's the second most important indication. For me personally, I never could really be very productive in a corporate environment with office politics. The bigger the company, the worse it usually gets. And the thing is that, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but, it's just the way it is. My dignity is more important than climbing the corporate ladder. It's not really something that is worth, in my opinion, your time, because unless you're that sort of person that, is sneaky and immoral and wants to do that, because there's only two ways that you can climb the corporate ladder. First one, either you are so indispensable and so good at what you do, and you become so indispensable for the company that the whole company or the whole division rests on your shoulders, pretty much. If they fired you, they would probably go bankrupt, So that's the first way. And that's not the best way to climb the corporate ladder, because you're just a work mule. And as soon as you're not useful to them anymore, they get rid of you. Fine, you can get another job someplace else because you're very useful to them, you're very useful in your field. But the second way, which is the most widespread way and the most common way, is to brown nose your boss and telltale on your co-workers and just spread rumors about them so they wouldn't be promoted instead of you, and stuff like that. So, most bosses that are immoral, and there's plenty of them, love to have a good little slave that will do the dirty work for them, and in exchange for you doing the dirty work for your boss and just being a good little slave, whenever he gets promoted or she gets promoted, he will bring you along and you will get promoted as well under him, because you're a good lieutenant. You're very useful to them in terms of climbing the corporate ladder. So in big companies, big companies work more like politics than a company, and unfortunately, the more people you add, the more complexity and the more barging, you know, and tell-telling, and you know, more competition between the co-workers you get. So it's important to have, when you have a company and if you are growing rapidly, it's important to have a flat structure. You know, it's very important to have a flat structure so you're accessible to every one of your employees. As soon as you're not, you know, you don't know what's going on, and the middle managers and I mean, you know what the top manager is doing because he's directly under you, the general manager, but the middle managers, you don't know what shit they're pulling. So they just corrupt your organization. They employ people based on how useful they will be to them in terms of climbing the corporate ladder, and not how useful they will be for the company itself. So they care more about them than the company. They don't really care about the company, you know. They think, oh, the company is big enough, they will, you know, this company will go on for quite a while, for decades probably, so I'm just gonna worry about myself. I don't give a shit about the company, because it's gonna survive either way. But that's not true, you know. Plenty of big companies fold rather quickly, actually, you know, if they are run like politics, and most of them are, you know. It's almost unavoidable when you have a big company. I like the way Richard Branson sets up his companies, because he tries, I don't know if he succeeds in most of the time, but he tries to make it a flat structure, and most of his companies try to operate as small companies, even if they have, you know, a few employees, you know, over the threshold of bullshit that usually happens in any company. And that's the only way, that's the only thing you can do, really, you know. You sort of have to have your ear on what's happening in the company. If you just let everything go, you know, office politics will take over. 100%, not 90%, 100% it will take over. And your company will be on the decline from that point onward, unless you have some, you know, government monopoly or stuff like that, you know. If people have to deal with you. If people don't have to deal with you, you know, if your company is shit, that they won't. Simple as that. And that is the second indicator that you're made for business. You do not work very well in office politics. So that was my story, you know. I tried, you know, but you know, just my dignity. I'm not gonna compromise my dignity and my self-worth for a paycheck. I would rather be panhandling, and I'm quite serious about this. I would rather be panhandling on the street than doing that and lying, you know, to get ahead. Lying and manipulating to get ahead. But you know, most people say, oh, but if you were panhandling, that would be a hit to your dignity. Not really, you know. You just stand there. You might even play an instrument, and you give a service and people give you money. Or you go around and say, can you give me money? That's less of a hit to your dignity. That's less of a hit to your dignity than... My mouth is really dry today. Sometimes it happens like this. Certain days you don't drink enough water and you're a little bit dehydrated, and it's hard to talk when you walk at the same time, because your heart rate is up and you're breathing heavily, so it's hard. But let's continue. So I just couldn't do it. It was hard, you always get at least one asshole in the division that tries to get ahead with playing politics instead of showing that he's worth anything, because deep down he knows that he's completely useless, and if he wasn't brown-nosing and putting other people down, he wouldn't last in the position and he would have no future in the company. So he has to play politics. He has to be a little shit. Well, that's how it is. There's always one or two or whatever. Sometimes when you see that almost everyone is doing it, then you know the company is on its way out. It's on its way down, unless, again, they have some sort of government monopoly or preferential treatment by the government. Then you know this company is going downhill, and you better start, looking around for a new position. This company might be going for 7, 10 years, even sometimes 15 years, if it's heavily entrenched, but it's on its way down, It's on its way down. The more manipulative people and the more useless and manipulative people you have in the company, you know that you will get more and more of them. And then you reach a certain threshold and it just crumbles. Everything goes to shit. A few years after that, 7 years ago, I think now, or even more. I don't know. I think it's 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. Might be 8. I don't know. I think it's 8. Yeah, it's gonna be 8 soon. 8 years that I've been in real estate now. So, plus, I do certain projects on the internet as well. Right now, we have a new project that I was talking about 6 months ago, and it took a while to get it started, but we're gonna be rolling it out soon, so you're gonna see that. But yeah, this is the second most common indication that you are made to be in business for yourself, that you're made to be an entrepreneur, which means first one is if you were entrepreneurial as a kid, if you wanted to sell stuff or you wanted to make money as a little kid or in your teens. And the second one is if you can't stand having a job and playing office politics. These are the two big ones, So that's it. I think this is all for today. See you next time. Cheers.